Alright, greetings class. We are going to do some subnetting, and this is for INT1117 hands-on project 4. So in this chapter, the discussion is to subnet. Your question here is, you have a new location, your IT director wants you to create 50 subnets. Okay, so that's an important part of a Class B network. Again, that's another important part, with the actual network ID beginning at 172.0 or 20.0.0.0. How many host bits will you need to use for your subnet information in the new subnets? Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to break this down a little bit. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to write our subnetting in sort of a binary form, just so that you get used to it. Okay, so you have to remember these numbers here: 128, 64, 32, 16, 8, 4, 2, 1. Okay, and this is, we're just first going to write our IP address in binary form. Okay, just so we can get used to it. So we take the first 8 bits right here. Right, that's an 8-bit, right? Because if you recall, your IP address, IPv4, is a 32-bit IP address, right? And you have the subnet side right here for a Class B network, and then you have the host side for a Class B network. Okay, so here we're going to write out our IP address in binary form. So what we want to do is we want to take the number 172, and we want to know, in this order, how many 128s are in 172? And there's 1, right? How many 128 plus 64 would be over 172, right? That would be 192. So we can't put that in there, so that's a 0. 32 plus 128 would also be in there, and I think we're at 160, right? Carry the 0, 160. So now, how many 16s are in there, right? 0. How many 8s? 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. How many 4s? 1, and then 0, 0. So our first binary number for 172 is right here, right? We want to just calculate how many are in each one, right? So if we take 20, it's going to be something like this: 0, 0, 0. There's 1, 16, and 20, right? We're at 16 now. You can't add 8. We'll add 1, 0, 0, right? So to get 20, our number should be 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, right? So we're annotating our IPv4 in binary, right? There's no 0, there's none of these numbers in 0, and there's none of these numbers in 0. So to write out our IP address in binary form, we would have 172 annotated by this, 20 annotated by this, 0 annotated by that, and 0 annotated by that, right? So what we have to do is we have to get 50 subnets out of this number, right? So these are the host numbers, and these are these are the subnet, and these are the hosts, right? So what we want to do is we want to borrow from the host side, right? But first we have to figure out this formula, right? Right? How many bits we need to figure out, how many bits we need to borrow from the host side, right? So the question is, we're trying to get 50 networks, right? So if we use this formula, 2 to the 1 network, right, minus 2 equals 0. 2 to the 2 minus 2 equals 2. And we keep going until this number in parentheses will get us at least 50, right? So here you see 2 to the 6 minus 2 equals 60, right? So we know that we have to borrow 6 bits from here, right? So what does that mean? What do you mean you have to borrow 6 bits? Well, what we have to do is we have to go back to our number, right? We're writing this in binary form now, right? So we know that on our subnet side, 25, if we take all these numbers and add them up together, we get 255, right? So we're calculating our subnet mask at the same time, right? 255, 255, because we're not going to borrow anything from the subnet side. we're going to borrow it from the host side, right? And we needed to borrow 6, right? So we're going to put a 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay, so we're borrowing 6 right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to add this number up and we're going to subtract it from 255, because a full, if we weren't borrowing anything, we would have 255, right? So it's actually, let's just add it up. It's 252 is what we're borrowing, right? So we got 255, 255, 252, 0, right? Because we don't have anything in the network on that side, right? So to get 50 network addresses, right? 50 network addresses, our subnet mask must be 255, 255, 2520 out of this IP address, right? So if we were to write that out, right, we borrowed 6. So let me copy that. So for our question here, right, how many host bits will you need to borrow, right? 2 to the n minus 2, we borrowed 6, right? Then after subnetting, what is our subnet mask? We know it's 255, 255, 2550. Okay. Some other things too is binary math is a little bit confusing. So it's called AND. So if we were to take this and AND it out, so let's just take that out of there. Let's say we wanted to add these two numbers together right here, right? So 1 plus 1 is 1, right? So it's just saying if it's true, consider these as true or false. A true and a true, it has to be true. A false and a true, it has to be false. True and a true is true, right? 1 plus 1 is 1. 0 plus 1 is false, right? True and true is true, true and true is true, false, false, right? So we basically what we've done here is if it had a 1 and a 1, it's a 1. If it's a 0, anything with a 0 is false. So that number is actually 172 if we added it up, right? So here we know that it's false, 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 right? True, false, true, false, false, right? So, and that didn't carry over, but it's actually the same number here, right? It's 20, right? So this, we know that if those are all zeros, right? And how am I getting that number? Well, I'm just adding it across here, right? If I put in here 0, 0, right? 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, oops, 0, 0, I would have 16 plus 4, and I would get 20, right? So all these are false, so we can't do anything there but put 0, right? Because if you put zeros across here, you're not getting any number. 0. So you know that your network, what you're starting at, is 172.20.0.0. That in this scenario, I guess it's not very helpful because that's what you started with. But if you started here at maybe 15 and then you subnet masked, you could figure out where you're starting at there, 0, 0. And then that's how you're going to actually do your tables, right? To figure out which each one starts and finishes, right? Because you're going to go through, right? And your broadcast address. The broadcast address is always the last address in the subnet. Generally, most of the time it's 255, and the network address is 0. So that's how you calculate that. Okay, the CIDR is a notation that you use to indicate how many hosts are available. So you'll see something like 172.20.0.0/24. That means you have 255 hosts. But it's very simple. You've already converted this into the subnet mask, which was right here, if you recall. We've converted that into binary. Remember, it was 255, 255, 252.0. Well, the CIDR, the slash annotation, is the number of ones in the subnet mask, right? So you have 8, right? 8 per 8, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So the CIDR is just simply annotated as /22 for this particular problem. Okay, that's all. Thanks.